Trump said that he declassified all these documents. Could he have just declassified them all?
Well, I just want to know I've declassified everything in the world. I'm president. I can do it all. Come on. Declassified everything. I'm not going to comment on it because I don't know the detail. I don't even want to know. Let the Justice Department take care of it.
This is President Joe Biden's response today to questions about the reams of classified documents stashed away at Mar-a-Lago, retrieved by the FBI earlier this month after an affidavit from the Justice Department. Former president also responded to the release of parts of that affidavit today, claiming, quote, affidavit heavily redacted, triple exclamation point, nothing mentioned on nuclear. Clear reference to the Washington Post reporting that, quote, classified documents relating to nuclear weapons were among the items FBI agents were looking for at Trump's Florida home. Problem, of course, is that we do not know if there was nothing mentioned on nuclear because the affidavit heavily redacted, triple exclamation point. There's still a lot we did learn from the documents unsealed today. Joining me now to go through some of the big takeaways, Danya Perry, who served as Deputy Chief of the Criminal Division, Southern District of New York, and Glenn Gerstel, who served as General Counsel for the National Security Agency and Central Security Service. Great to have you on both. Glenn, let me start with you as someone who practiced law for the government at very high echelons of one of the most secretive agencies we have, the NSA. From that perspective, anything jump out to you about what we did see through the redactions today?
Well, the redactions covered up a lot, but they also revealed a lot, too. And so I think there are some important nuggets and some information in the affidavit that still remained that's really significant. Most importantly for me, what jumped out is the fact that it's very hard after reviewing this affidavit, even with all the deletions, and understanding the rich detail associated with the information that was in the 15 boxes that were returned to the National Archives back in January, and understanding the nature of the very sensitive documents that were there, coupled with the information now that that the FBI had that there must have been additional documents. It's almost impossible to see how you couldn't exercise a search warrant and go ahead with this. It would be irresponsible on the basis of what information we already have to just say, oh, let's take a chance and leave the documents there.
Danya, how about you?
I completely agree. There was no way around it. Once the FBI had this information that there were 184 highly classified, top secret documents that were retrieved earlier this year, and they had information from a significant number of civilian witnesses. And according to public reporting, they had additional evidence as well, including surveillance evidence. They really had no choice but to go in there and execute the search to get those documents back. And I heard what Chuck Rosenberg said before. I think there is certainly evidence that a serious crime was committed. It remains to be seen what all these witnesses have said, what the surveillance tape will say, what law enforcement agents have uncovered. But it certainly seems that it was committed by somebody. And there's certainly information that former President Trump knew about this ongoing issue that was going on for some 19 months and is famously a micromanager of these things and must have concerned himself at least once the FBI and the Department of Justice at a high level became interested in it. But that's probably in the redactions.
Glenn, one thing that jumped out to me, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this, is that we have heard noises made by, in particular, Kash Patel, who was worked for Trump and was over the Department of Defense in the final days, try to make this argument in public that Donald Trump, again, in this kind of like sort of transubstantiation way, had sort of waved his hands over these documents and declassified them. Ergo, since the president has sole authority over classification, they weren't classified, so you can't do anything about it. The unredacted parts of the affidavit actually grapples with that a little bit. I mean, basically, it proactively rebuts that. And what do you think about that section?
I thought that was fascinating, that the affidavit specifically addressed the point that the government knew beforehand of this claim that the documents were declassified. And in fact, it even cites Kash Patel's media appearance. So the government was aware of this assertion and basically said, in effect, to the judge, ignore that. We don't even need to worry about whether that's accurate or not. It happens to be not accurate, but put that aside, because fascinatingly, the search warrant application did not even contain a provision saying that there had been a crime committed by removal of classified documents. That crime, which is a separate one under Section 1924 of the Criminal Code, wasn't even mentioned in the search warrant. And I think that's a very revealing, deliberate decision by the government. They said, we don't even need to get into the classification, declassification question. I might add, since you've raised it, that I think the idea that he just had this automatic declassification principle makes no sense at all. His own former national security advisor and chief of staff have both said they haven't heard of any such rule. It makes no sense at all.
Danya, what do you make of the volume here? I mean, one thing that's so strange, I keep having to remind myself that we're talking about different categories. The volume of stuff they're talking about, right? I mean, the chain here is, we tried to shake this loose. We finally got some stuff from them, 15 boxes. We went through it, and there's just tons of classified intro. We all freaked out. We brought in the FBI, and now we're trying to get more because we think they still have stuff. The sheer scale of this seems relevant, and certainly seems relevant when they keep capitalizing 15 boxes in the affidavit.
It certainly seems relevant. It is not a factor. It's not an element to prove up this crime. It does not matter what the volume is. Many people have been prosecuted for much less, but it does underscore the seriousness of this and likely the intent behind it. It's not, yes, the affidavit makes clear that a lot of it was interspersed with, other kind of random materials and, not even documents. So maybe there was some messiness there. But when you've got that number, and particularly whether or not it's an element of the crime, and as Glenn just pointed out, it's not an element of any of the 3 statutes that are listed in the search warrant application. But whether or not it is, if it is marked top secret, that's probably an indication that you shouldn't be storing them in your basement or in your residence. So I do think the volume really is just another factor here of why the FBI and DOJ felt that they had to go in there.
As we noted above, Glenn, that the special access programs, which is something that was mentioned, I believe, in the National Archives letter, but is not mentioned in the redacted affidavit. Presumably, we think it's probably redacted because the National Archives told us basically that high level of classification was present in these documents. There's 2 markings that stood out to people. HCS was one of them. Just explain a little bit for those of us that aren't familiar with this, what that indicates.
Sure. So to begin with, all of these documents, you can't miss the classification. It's printed in capital letters in red on the top and bottom of every single page and the cover page. So it's not like someone's going to overlook some classified document. The particular codes that you reference, at the top of the document, it'll say top secret, for example, which is the highest classification level. But within top secret, there are special categories, one of which has to do with sensitive special access programs, which are information that's so sensitive it's limited to just a handful or 2, perhaps, of people who have a specific reason to know that information. Human source information might indicate that the underlying intelligence came from spies, from, say, the CIA or the FBI, in other words, as opposed to electronic surveillance. And the information that was marked FISA refers to information that involves the targeting of a foreign intelligence, targeting of a foreigner for intelligence purposes. So there's a lot in here at the very, very sensitive level within the top secret category.
All right, Danya Perry and Glenn Gerstel, thank you both. That was really illuminating. Appreciate it.
Thank you.